Okay, so you got some alveoli that come down, right? And then going through those are going to be some arteries that turn into capillaries, right? And so, what does ventilation-perfusion represent? Okay, it's called the VQ ratio. Okay, so ventilation, Q stands for perfusion. So, what is this telling me? Like if someone has an offset VQ ratio or ventilation-perfusion ratio, what does it tell you? Anyone? You know what? Okay, so basically what we're trying to do is match oxygen to blood, basically, right? Because let's say I have a lot of oxygen coming in here, I have a lot of oxygen coming in there. I have a full PO2 of 104, right? That means I'm doing pretty good if I have 104 PO2 in my alveoli. And so basically the whole point, remember, was to take this alveoli and to take oxygen and then shove it into the plasma, right? And then the plasma was going to, in there, is going to get shoved onto the hemoglobin, right? And so we're trying to do this. And so your medulla oblongata controls your atrial constrictions and stuff like this, right? It controls your blood flow. And so if you think about this, okay, so you have two tubes that are both this thick, okay? One tube constricts into this, and then one tube kind of opens up a little bit more. But they're both trying to fill a cup with water, okay? You take your bucket, you pour water into this, you pour water into this. Oops, sorry. Okay, so which bucket is going to fill it faster?
The one
The one on the right? And why?
bigger.
It's bigger, so it's going to allow more water to go through it, right? And it's the same thing with your arteries. So vasoconstriction does what to your blood pressure?
Increases.
It increases, right? You get higher blood pressure. But what about blood flow?
Decreases.
It decreases it, right? And so like when you have like damage to like, your ankle or something like that, and it swells up because of vasoconstriction, because of vasodilation, it's trying to deliver more blood and oxygen to repair those tissues and get some bacteria to die, so there's some leukocytes going down there and stuff like that. And so putting ice on it causes vasoconstriction, and it's going to decrease the blood flow, and it's actually going to make your injury last longer, right? But it makes it feel better. And so, but vasodilation would allow more blood flow, right? Well, if you're trying to match up oxygen here, this is our whole point, is to get oxygen into the blood. What happens if they have like an emphysema or their alveoli is collapsed because the surfactant isn't working right or something like that, right? And so their VQ ratio would be different. So say this alveoli kind of collapsed up like this, or it was full of this fluid that made it hard for oxygen to get in, and so the decrease in O2 here, medulla oblongata is going to do what? What do you think? What the stuff over there kind of put these two together? It's going to shunt. It's called shunting. It's going to cause, so this is vasoconstriction and this is vasodilation, right? And you're trying to match up oxygen with blood. That's your whole point, right? So the arterioles in this part of the lung are going to do what? Vasoconstrict or dilate?
Dilate.
Why would they dilate? What would dilation do? So explain it to me. What does dilation do? More blood, right? And so do you want more blood going to the lung that gets less oxygen?
No.
You don't want, right? You want to go into the blood, you want to get the most, you want to be most efficient as you can with your oxygen. And so you're going to vasodilate over here. So all of these arteries will get bigger, and it'll allow the majority of the blood coming from the right side of the heart to come to this part of the lung that's going to get more oxygen in it, right? Because if this one's not really putting much oxygen in the blood, it recognizes that through the chemoreceptors, and it says, you know, I'm not getting much there, and so I'm going to break it worth my while, I'm going to put my blood over here. So if I vasoconstrict here, it'll shove blood over here, and that's called shunting. So you will shunt your blood to another section of your lung. Does that make sense?
Does this only ever do it if it's damaged? About the
Oh yeah, it can be damaged. It can be full with fluid, like in pneumonia,
So if it's kind of slightly
emphysema.
incompetent.
Yeah, if anything is making it hard for the oxygen to get into the plasma, if it's not being efficient in its perfusion, right, or its ventilation. So that's why I call it ventilation-perfusion ratios. So you're matching up this ventilation, how good is your ventilation, with your perfusion, which is what? The blood flow, right? So perfusion is the amount of blood going to the area and getting to the tissues. And so like your capillary, this is called perfusion when blood comes in and oxygen is given. That's adequate perfusion, okay? And so we're matching up blood flow to ventilation, but we're trying to put oxygen in, right? And so the perfusion is how much blood, how good is the blood flow mixed with my ventilation. So that's my VQ or my ventilation ratios. So if someone had in their right lung, their type 2 pneumocytes weren't working that well, are they going to have vasoconstriction or vasodilation in their right lung? Constriction, why?
Because I want to shunt it to the left lung.
It wants to shut to the left, right? But what will cause it to want to shunt from there? What? Because your type 2 pneumocytes do what? They produce surfactant. Without surfactant, what will happen to the alveoli? They'll collapse and kind of get stuck together. And so will that interfere with your ventilation? That make it hard for the blood to get oxygen? So it doesn't want to go there. So it's going to make those smaller and make them bigger over here. Although, yeah, it's a decrease in blood pressure, but overall the blood flow is what we're looking at. Because we're trying to get the most blood filled with oxygen, right? And so they'll actually put like a dye in your arteries. So they'll inject a dye into you, right? And then they'll take an x-ray picture. And then that dye will actually show where the blood is at in your chest. They'll take a chest x-ray, and they can match up your bronchioles, and they can match up your blood in the arteries, and they can see, oh, there's more dye on this side, or this side of the lung isn't really perfusing, it's over here. So someone with like emphysema or COPD will have off of these ratios because the blood isn't going to get perfused, right? And so that they can kind of diagnose things that way. Does that make sense? Oh, that there's a pneumonia in the right lung or the left lung. They can kind of, does that make sense? They can kind of see those things better. Okay.